You're asking so many questions in one. Let me start with the issue of other agitations with respect to the 40% payments. Now, if you take a look at the statistics of the salary of those that were given that 30% peculiar allowance, it's a question of harmonization of what has been in existence in other parastatals. Okay. Now, an assistant director, a deputy director, or a director is equivalent of the professorial cadre. How much has been their take-home pay? An assistant director has been taking home about 100 and something, which is equivalent to the money taken home by an assistant lecturer. An assistant lecturer is the equivalent of a grade level 9 officer. So you take a look at all this, and then when the issue of the education officers who render teaching services and education support services in the ministry, where their issue of salary increment was talked about. Now, the ACN came and said, look, by the time you begin to increase one section, it will now begin to affect on the other. Rather, there should be a harmonization of these particular persons who are in a particular salary scale structure. And looking at that, I think the government came up with to say, okay, yeah, I think it's a better approach than having this. And of recent, you have a National Association of Resident Doctors also requesting their pay rise. You see, I've always said that pay rise or increment in pay will not solve the Nigerian problem. I mean, the Nigerian workers' problem. What will solve our problem is having a good government put in place so that Nigeria will move from a consumption economy into a production economy. Before now, I think Pojo was being assembled in Nigeria. I think there was a time Toyota were having their assemblance in Nigeria at a point in time. But now, you don't have, I think that was under Square Motors. But now you don't have all this. The last time, I just came from another TV program talking about the Nigerian economy, the fuel subsidy and all that. Now, you look at the scenario we have. When I was much younger, I used to hear about the textile mills, about textile mill, Kaduna textile mill, the Kano textile mill. Now, all these are companies that were producing wrappers for us. We had the granite pyramid in those days, but all of these are no more in existence. Now, there used to be NASCO biscuits in those days. All these ones are no more in existence. And so when you are talking of percent pay rise, all the time, you are not going to help the economy. Yes, my colleague in the studio has talked about the issue of no money. You see, the average worker do not want to hear the issue of no money. Agreed, there is no money in the economy based on what we have been told. But at the same time, the EFCC tells us that they have recovered so billion, they have recovered so million. The Abacha loot, they've repatriated so billion. And then we keep asking ourselves, when you are having a repatriation of such money, is it on paper note? Even if it's on paper note, then it means that the government has such a money in such an account or in a coffer of the government. What happens? You cannot be telling me as a man to run a home that somebody had paid you 1 million naira and you are going to borrow 500,000. It looks funny. It looks very funny. So we have been in this country where animals are now, so important that they now eat money. You have the snake syndrome, you have the monkey syndrome, you have the various animals that are now eating monies in the various parastatals. All these are funny, but not really funny. I think what we need in this country is good governance. Because when you have good governance and you have those who are in government, not for their selfish interest, but for the purpose of the masses, development of the masses and development of the economy, then you're going to be having a much robust economy. But when you have people who are there just because of their selfish interest or for the sake of the fact that my name should be written in gold, that I've been a governor, I've been a president, I've been a senator, then we have a challenge. Yeah, my colleague talked about the last National Assembly, talking about the current Senate president. In fact, when the Senate president profile was read, I felt that he was the most qualified. But unfortunately, trying to please the executive is not the roadmap of the legislative body. They are expected to be on checks and balances. So now you go back to the issue of pensioners. All these are assertions, whether it is 500 and something or 700 and something that has been paid. We need to get the right figures. We need to know what is on board. On the issue of the peculiar allowance, yes, kudos to the government. The civil servants under that compass have been paid. But then we still have some who are in the Ministry of Police Affairs that have not been paid. And the current officer in charge of that is working to see that they are also captured. And I'm sure that by the end of this May, theirs will also come on board. For others who have not got their payment, it could be as a result of one issue or the other. But generally, I think all those who are under that compass, with respect to the 40% peculiar allowance, statistics shows that at least over 70% of those in that compass received their salary in the month of April that just passed. And then for that, we give kudos to the government. But for other areas, I think we need to do more. And we're expecting that this is the month of inauguration. When a new government comes on board, I don't look at the government based on the political parties. Okay. I look at the government based on the individuals, because it is the individuals coming through the political parties that are giving us governance and direction. So we need, for me, we need a more robust discourse, not a government run on the level or platform of bigotry, on the platform of nepotism. The moment you begin to run government on platform of nepotism, bigotry, and all that, then you are not going to have the best, even when you are the best qualified. But when you run a government on all inclusiveness, where the masses, the development of the economy and the nation is the primary focus for governance, I think you're going to have the best of government. So I am looking for a robust government when this new regime comes in place. But I'm not going to be surprised if we are going to be worse off than where we have found ourselves. Okay, so for the workers, they are expecting a better package. And then for those who are clamoring for an increment on theirs that they did not get it, they cannot get it. They should not get it, not because it is a wicked thing to be done, okay, but because the fact remains that as at the time they got their increment, this particular set of persons being captured were not given that opportunity to have theirs. And now there's a harmonization.